Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning or
I assume it's
afternoon.
morning for you because I see the Golden Gate behind you.
Yeah, I'm sitting right up here on the Marin Headlands. I have been to this spot before, actually. That's one of the reasons I chose it. But I live in Chicago, so yeah, it's nothing like that out my real window.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Thomas.
Good morning.
Hey, Praveen. You raising your hand or just saying hi?
I'm just saying hi.
Oh, okay. Oh, good morning, Eloise.
Hello. Okay, I posted a link for the agenda. We already have some topics on the agenda right now. If you have any additional topics, obviously feel free to publish. Sorry, to add them to the list. Okay. Which I'm doing myself as well right now. And then give some people time to join here. Okay. Too many open documents. All right. So we have two chairs, one tech lead here. I think we can start with the project presentation. It's going to be recorded anyways, so don't let you wait any longer. Yeah, we can run some questions here. We'll publish the meeting later on as well. And I would also advise you to later on watch the tag app delivery Slack channel for follow-up questions as some people joining it. Yeah, with this, I think it's over to you, John, right? No? Okay, sorry.
It's Praveen's presenting this morning. I'm second chair.
Oh, okay, Praveen, sorry, okay, yeah.
No worries. Let me actually start sharing my screen. Are you guys able to see my screen? Cool. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Praveen Rewar, and I'm one of the maintainers of Carvel. And we are really excited to be here today. I also have John, Renu, and Samik with me today. Keeping the time constant in mind, I'll get started with the stuff. So I'll start with how Carvel why Carvel was created and what is Carvel. So usually like Kubernetes provides all the configurations and machineries that we need to get our workloads running in a cluster. But when we want to do things at scale, we would need more jobs to be done. So for example, with more resources and more manifests coming into picture, we would need to extract boilerplates and simplify the configuration API for the end users. And this is often done by templating configurations. And with in recent times, there are microservices and then cachings and data storage, etc. With these requirements, we also need to manage a lot of dependencies. And that's one of the jobs that needs to be scaled. And then since we are scheduling workloads into containers, we would also need images to be built. And then in some cases, we would also need our software to be distributed. So it needs to be packaged. And then it needs to be easily distributable. And once it reaches the destination, we would also want to configure the end users to be able to configure those deployments. And once they have done that, they should be able to easily deploy or upgrade or remove certain resources with confidence. So, and to scale all of these jobs in a fairly automated way, like probably using GitOps, we would need different sort of tools for each of these jobs, and these tools should also be like really composable so that users can choose the best tool that actually supports their use case. So Carvel tools actually cover each of these jobs, and yeah, Carvel is basically it's composed of like a bunch of tools, so a tool suite, and it is inspired by the Unix philosophy of favoring thoughtful collection of small tools. Each of them is focused on one particular job, and it's really good at it, while remaining like completely composable. So you can pick one over the other. I'll start with the first tool, YTT. So YTT or YAML templating tool is a general purpose YAML templating and patching tool. And unlike other approaches, YTT operates within YAML. So it elevates the author from like doing some bookkeeping of indentation and encoding of values. So it basically sees your YAML files as data structures rather than a text. So it's fairly easy to like not get issues, not get errors, certain errors. And authors generally begin with a Kubernetes manifest and like reduce the overall maintenance and extract variables, or in some scenarios, chunks of YAML, or even like whole sets of files into functions and libraries. And in YTT, logic is expressed in Python dialect, that is using Scala, which is like a language purpose-built for expressing configuration only. And then authors can also define a schema for input values as precise constants to ensure values are well informed and valid. And there's also the overlaying, the patching part to it. Like at the end, once we have distributed the packages, users can also do some patching on and do some using overlays. So they can easily change sort of things according to the requirements at the end. So YTT has like kind of both the things, overlaying and templating. Any questions so far?
Sounds like you're positioning that next to Helm and customize from the things you brought up. Is that right?
Well, part of it, like I wouldn't say like YTT can entirely replace Helm. I would say like there are some things. So for example, Helm templating, you can use Helm templating or you can use YTT according to your needs. And then next up, you can use vendor or you can use something else. So it's entirely composable. I
Thanks.
hope I got the question right.
Yeah, thanks. That was exactly what I was wondering. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So next up is vendor. Vendor provides like a means of declaring the contents for a directory. So it's authors can like specify any sort of resources like Git or Mercurial repositories or OCI images or HTTP locations, GitHub releases, Helm charts, or even like other directories. And vendor then simply synchronizes the contents of the pointed to directory with the directory that you want to sync up. And in some scenarios, when the source has a natural versioning, like a Git repo, vendor will remember the exact version, the revision fetch to ensure repeatable builds. Like we generally just need to use vendor sync and resolve the dependencies and sync the source and the version. Next up is building images. So
Hey, Praveen, sorry to interrupt. Are your slides advancing for you? Because I think we're seeing on my screen share, I see just the one slide.
I'm
There you go.
sorry. This is
Cool, because I know you had some visuals for this one. There you go. All right, cool.
yeah. Okay. Thanks for pointing that out, John. Yeah. Now, for building images, Carvel actually scans Kubernetes manifest and it looks for image references. And authors can configure well-known image building tools like Docker or KO or TAC, and Carvel actually relies on them. And it ensures that an image is either fetched or built. Then Carvel resolve all the image references to their SHA-256 digest. And then it kind of becomes a cryptographic certainty that what's running in production is what was meant to be. Okay, next is image package. By the way, do let me know if I'm going too fast or too slow. Okay. So image package collects Kubernetes manifest and references to all the attend images into like a single artifact, a bundle. And then these bundles can be copied from one registry to another. It could be the public or it could be internal. And then users can also produce a completely self-contained tarball on the entire system, of the entire system. And like the configuration and all the images and all the dependent images in a single archive. And then this like allows us to like handle completely air-gapped environments.
Is that, are you using OCI format? Or
Yep,
something
yep.
else?
OCI. Right. Next up is kapp. Now, kapp actually supercharges an operator's ability to apply manifest to their cluster. And with kapp, users can basically review a precise plan of the changes that are going to be applied to the cluster before they're applied. And it also establishes a lightweight ordering so that resources have like the natural dependencies are deployed first, and then the needed and then the actual resources are deployed. So for example, namespace resources are deployed after namespaces. And then it also observe a live update of the current state of the deployment until all resources are fully reconciled. So basically we get to see all the resources reconcile and be sure that everything is deployed. And we can also monitor and inspect logs of the pods or anything which is present in that application.
Is this like is that like the GitOps control? Sounds a lot like GitOps. Would you describe it that way?
Well, you can use other tools with kapp to enable GitOps behavior. So kapp would actually just use the manifests that are provided to it and then deploy it on the cluster based on the current state of the cluster. Now, you can use other tools like, let's say, I think GitHub has OIDC, so you can use it along with that. Or as you might have seen in the next slide, there is also an included opinionated integration that we provide, which is kapp controller. So you can use kapp with kapp controller as well.
I see. So kapp is just an imperative, run it once and done. It doesn't necessarily continuously reconcile.
Yeah, right.
Thanks. But the controller continuously reconciles. That's what you were saying.
Yep. Yeah. So moving on to the next tool, which is kapp controller. So each tool, like what we have seen, is independent. You can actually use one, maybe some other tool over one of the Carvel tools, or maybe just use one that you actually like for like whatever works best for you, like maybe in CI/CD pipelines or in shell scripts. And then we also have kapp controller. Kapp controller basically provides custom resource definitions for an application. And a Carvel app basically has 3 steps. Fetch, you can fetch Kubernetes manifest from wherever you want to, and then template with whatever method you would want to, and then deploy the manifest finally onto the cluster. And then this step is something that is repeated. So these 3 steps are like repeated in whatever duration you would want to set. And yeah, so this workflow basically configures each required tool, and like you can also use some other third-party tool because we do have a large number of tools these days. And then one of the recent additions to kapp controller is kcontrol, which is a CLI native to kapp controller itself. So it basically allows users to like either author some packages or consume packages which are already there. So it internally uses the kapp controller APIs itself, but provides a CLI interface to users. And one of the recent additions to Carvel toolsuite is secret gen controller, which is again another controller, and it actually makes managing secrets like with a lot of ease. So it provides on cluster secret generation or sharing secrets between various namespaces, and then secret content shaping, assembling secret contents from like other resources. And then since like this functionality is also exposed via CR, so it can also be used with kubectl, kapp, or Helm, or Argo CD, Flux CD, or even kapp controller. Yeah, that was real quick, I guess. So any questions and answers? John, do you want to include anything that I might have missed?
No, I saw Eloise. Did you have a question? When we about cap controller?
It wasn't about kapp control. I think the only, I think I understand the end-to-end process. The only question I have, is there also a tool when you like go into image packaging that also would allow me to just automatically upload everything from that package back to an OCI registry as well?
Allow me to upload. So you mean during the build process?
Now, the way I understand, I can building my images and then I'm packaging everything up in a self-contained entity, which you could probably also use for air gap type of environments. And then I'm sending them to you, Josh, for example, and you then want to obviously import everything that's there. And as part of this process, you need to push those images to your OCI registry. So whether this is also something that image package would allow me to do as part of the distribute step.
Yep. You can copy, so from registry to registry. You can pull from a registry to local, either just the manifests and a bill of materials of the images, or you can grab the whole thing as a tarball from a registry, or you can push. So
Okay,
typically in that early build step, your build will actually, your images will typically get pushed up to a registry right away.
Okay, that makes sense. So that step was like mentally missing for me in this. Yeah, okay, cool.
I mean, if there was only one little, the only nuance I can think of to add here, Praveen, that was really good, is just that those light blue boxes are all CLIs. I don't know if that's blatantly obvious, and that the controllers are the in cluster machinery, and the idea is that you don't have to use YTT to use that. You could like use different parts of the thing. Cap controller directly supports Helm templating, fetching Helm charts, and GitHub releases, etc. There's a lot of stuff that it can pull in, and it will allow you to template with Q as well. It's a more recent add, and our intention is to add more of those integrations so that that opinionated integration in Cap controller is something that you can bring more and more of your own tools. But the idea is to kind of make space for, hey, if there's something that you're already doing, that you can take advantage of how those individual jobs are solved well by some tool in Carvel. It's meant to deliberately not be an all or nothing thing. But you have to, if you do that, you kind of have to provide an out-of-the-box integration of all the things in case someone wants to just get started.
Yeah, I was wondering that. So do you have like a bundle of all of these that, for getting started? Is that?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. There's like an install script that gets all the tools on your machine. There's a GitHub Actions setup. So if you want to do it in a GitHub Action, you can get a pre-built container with that stuff. What else is there?
You can also install using Brew, like all the CLIs.
Using what?
Brew,
Oh,
Brew, Homebrew.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
There's a chocolatey repo. We haven't yet. We're still working with talking with that maintainer to like see if we can get that as part of the donation. But I'm not involved in it. I just know that we haven't yet brought it fully under the umbrella, but Adrian's like maintains it.
Yeah, I think it's cool, like also to split it up into smaller tools. I really like the approach, as you mentioned, like the Unix paradigm. I can like use individual tools for individual steps in my overall process. I'm just wondering, like from Carvel overall, that's maybe a bit more of a 10,000 feet type of questions, because sometimes we have to approaches that are presenting like a lot of different tools. is there like an overarching charter, which type of tools you want to build, what you see fit into Carvel, what you see out of scope for Carvel?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think it fits all within like this workflow. I don't mean to be like that I guess that's something that I mean you would take on a case by case basis. Let's see, what's something that wouldn't be a Carvel thing? It's really about application packaging and deployment. So if there's something that's outside of that, um, I think maybe one piece in here that's not well represented yet is like the developer workflow. So you can use stuff like this within some of those inner loop, developer loop stuff. We haven't explored that as deeply as we wish we could yet.
Actually,
Uh,
I kind of this kind of a good segue into what I want to discuss a little, which is around app platform. Like I look at this like you put all these pieces together, maybe a little bit more, but then you've got what we're talking about as a full app platform that all your DevOps and folks can all build on.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking is obviously as you're like planning or when you're planning to make this part as a CNCF project, and I've been involved like in some of these evaluations. It's kind of helpful to understand where tool suites wants to go, especially as you progress through different stages and you will be adding new projects. Like having some project delineation, what you want to be and what you don't want to be, is kind of helpful for people when they look at it, like how does it fit into the overall ecosystem, and saying like you won't add a service mesh most likely tomorrow, and it would like be a number of like first implementation, and you don't know already in an incubation stage, and somebody would have something incubated in there, and different and like newer projects that you're adding. At least having some idea on how to present this, I think, is useful. But I think that if you said it's a package and deploy workflow, that makes sense, and it's also very natural for a project to grow, especially tool-focused ones. And so just like as a hint, as you're submitting it, thinking about, okay, like what's like in scope and what you consider out of scope is very often helpful. Like just making it explicit. I know you have like, I assume you have a very good idea what you want to see in scope and out of scope here.
And Alois, are you kind of like, I'm looking at like landscape.cncf where there's all the categories. Is that kind of what you're getting at, like where it would fit there?
I think where it would fit, I think that's what the users of projects will figure out themselves, like when they want to use certain tools. But if you say like this is a CNCF project, and suddenly like you're adding entirely different things, you want to have at least some understanding of what does this project actually stand for? Is it just a collection of tools, or do they have like a bigger idea of why the individual tools exist? Obviously, projects evolve, but it's just helpful to understand it, like not to name specific projects, but there were projects that were sometimes considering of several sub-projects of different tools at a different maturity level, and also like having different use cases, and you were like wondering like how should you judge, like for example, adoption of this or maturity of a tool. If you keep adding tools, they do very different things and so forth. I think it's just helpful for somebody actually reviewing your proposal to like have a good understanding of where you want to take this, and just being explicit about it, that they say, no, we're not adding this and this. It's like the focus. So Josh, I hope this answers your question as well. It's less of I think where to put it on the landscape might be a good analogy. Like, can you identify that one space in the landscape where you would put it? Rather than, okay, it's like a collection of 500 tools to do everything, which it isn't. I think it's very focused. I would just make it explicit when I'm as part of like a due diligence document.
Yes, I'm hearing there that there's this risk that you've seen in the past where projects don't have focus and clarity of their charter, And then it becomes difficult for anyone to understand, well, what's inside the box? You got a label on the outside, but why would I even open it up and what's in there? And if it becomes a mishmash of solutions, then it doesn't help out the community. It makes it confusing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a reason that don't get accepted, fairness, but I think it always helps if you make it explicit. Like every project has a mission, but the wider you go as a set of tools, the harder it might be to see upfront. Like if like one single project, it's very straightforward. Like if it would just be image packaging, it would be totally obvious what you're doing. But you're like adding a lot with deployment, you're adding stuff around templating and so forth. It's like making the picture wider, which all makes a lot of sense. I would just say like everything you need from like packaging to deploying an application. That would be super helpful. But like rather than making it one big project, it's a pick and choose approach of a set of individual tools. That would, for example, help me and or also how I understood your presentation today to see, okay, well, where should I put this project?
I
Is
see.
it
To
just
begin
like
with,
the overall vision and that
yeah.
direction in there? Yeah. Think about it that way. You have, you will obviously have, or already have at some point, a governance committee that and will have a charter of what the project should do. What would this charter look like? How would a governance committee decide what you put in there and what you see out of scope for the overall project? Again, not required, but I think like just helpful overall as you build a project and help people understand where you want to head or where you're headed with the project.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
I know we're a little over time on this, but I just wanted to ask, how do you see your relationship with Tanzu? Is this, I mean, I assume it works on all Kubernetes is it like tightly coupled with Tanzu? Like, yeah, just wondering if it would work on its own nicely in, vanilla Kubernetes, and your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's probably more accurate to describe it the other way around, that Tanzu is built on Carvel in a sense. Like all of like the component delivery is done using this tooling. And so some of it you see explicitly, like if you go and look at like their install docs and stuff, you'll see mentions of these tools. Other pieces have been facaded to try and improve sort of a more simplified experience, because it's a different, a slightly different segment. Folks who one big part of the underlying philosophy for Carvel from the beginning has been not to get into the way of you understanding the Kubernetes machinery, to gently introduce you to it so you see it. You don't have to understand all of it in order to use Carvel, but the more that you're exposed to it, the more likely you're going to develop your mental model of what's happening under the covers. It's your choice to go deeper. But with a commercial product that's aimed more toward trying to present higher level abstractions, like Tanzu is, there might be some layers on top, but it's absolutely independent of Tanzu.
Very cool. Yeah, I love the way you describe it, that this is under Tanzu rather than the other way around. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe it's out of curiosity, from a contributor base, who outside of VMware do you have as like maintainers on the project? Or do we have maintainers outside of VMware?
Yeah, we have a smattering of folks from the community, and we've just started doing some work in earnest with Twilio. We're just in the beginning of making the project much more open and easy to contribute to. It's actually one of our big items on our roadmap is to make contribution much simpler.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it is fair. I mean, that's like it. Very often the step that every project goes through, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
Mm.
But we're very community oriented, so we're proud of being very responsive on Slack, and And GitHub, when issues come up and whatnot, we try and help people get involved however deeply they want to. We've like paired with people as they're doing contributions at times. So
Cool. Yeah.
there's the individual intention, but there needs to be more systemic support, and we know that.
Okay, thank you. All right, looking at our agenda right now. I mean, if there are any other questions, otherwise we can also continue on Slack and also after we share it with other people that they can chime in. If not, I would move on to cooperative delivery posts. I think that's you, Josh. You should put names to agenda items.
Oh yeah,
This
sorry
guy-
about
oh,
that.
it's you, Josh. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the main working cooperative delivery right now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Justin, by the way, for looking over that article and anybody else that did. So yeah, I just wanted to get eyes on this. This is kind of summarizing, where we are for better and worse with cooperative delivery. It's been a lot me and Robert and Palacis. Thank you for joining us and a couple other folks. So I kind of wanted to sum up, what we've done in the past 6 to 12 months or what we've learned. With we haven't had as many user interviews as we might have wanted, but a lot of the learning is coming from conversations and then the projects actually. So there's kind of in this article, I just want to make sure everyone's okay with it. I just basically put down 3 kind of ideas that I think come out of the projects that we work with and reflect some of that. Yeah, if everyone is, I want to take some more input, but if everyone is generally okay, I'm thinking we publish this on our tag blog, which I don't know if everyone even knows about, but we're working on that. But also the CNCF blog, because our tag blog is still, we're still ramping that up. And then the last thing which I put in the notes here is that I'm kind of thinking of using this. Alois, you brought this up in the Slack chat, to transition us more to thinking about like this emerging platform engineering concept. And I actually kind of think that is a form of cooperation. In fact, that's kind of the whole idea behind platform engineering, is that we cooperate with the app developers to make sure they have the capabilities they need from the platform. So yeah.
I think my comment was just as we're kind of like revamping it and pushing it out to the wider community, whether we should really pick a name that people understand. Like historically, the people who were like in favor of cooperative delivery are not even part of that idea anymore. And at least I've always run into a situation where when I talk about cooperative delivery, people don't actually know what you're talking about. Then you explain to them what you're doing, and then you say, okay, you're like talking about like developer or DevOps experience, but in this case it's devs like and ops, not as a DevOps, but like the individual roles and responsibilities experience and like platforms and composable platforms. And that's usually how I end up explaining it to people.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we just have a very confusing name for something that everybody understands if we would just call it slightly differently. Because if we talk about composable development platforms or delivery platforms, whatever we want to call them, I think everybody understands what we mean from the get-go. That's why I'm kind of still struggling with the name out of experience. I was never the biggest fan, to be fair, like in full transparency, but I really figured it out whenever I was explaining it, people didn't get what it was about. But then I was talking about composable delivery platforms, and everyone said, oh, you mean like combining tools together to build a delivery platform that the developers can use? And it's like, you see it almost flowing out of people. That's why I was kind of, wouldn't it be a good time to maybe rename it? So I don't want to delay any of the publication because I think the content is great, and everybody who did not read it, I think it's a very nice and thorough piece on how to build and why to build these platforms.
Alois, and you're kind of saying, let's use the blog post to change the name as an opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, would you read a blog post about composable cloud native delivery platforms, or would you read one on cooperative delivery?
Yeah.
I think we might you'd end up using the first 2 paragraphs, just doing exactly the explanation which we have been doing for almost like the last year, and also leaves the opportunity. There are lots of people out there building their platform, their engineering platforms or next-gen delivery platforms. I mean, we just talked about Carvel and obviously Tanzu, which is sitting on top of it, which basically goes in that direction as well. I think that's a topic that people are already dealing with, that we could simply attach to it. At the end of the day, it's what we're doing, rather than introducing a new term that nobody is actually familiar with, even if it intellectually sounds right. It might be easier to have that, to push it in that direction. That's just why I'm bringing it up right now. And as we're releasing the blog post, which I think is great, I think it could help with attraction to tell people what we actually want to do. Not wanting to delay anything here, but if we could like agree on a name and that in that area, I think it would be way easier to digest, unless somebody really thinks that cooperative delivery is what we want to introduce to the wider audience. I mean, I have a strong opinion here, but
I think product as a platform says that. You know, that platform as a product kind of says cooperative delivery. It says deliver your platform as a product and cooperate, you know, be aware of your customers. So yeah, the term platform, I think for sure belongs there. What kind of platform we could probably debate? I heard you composable delivery, Alois, maybe. I won't shed too much on that.
I just had composable in there because we always said it's a number of tools that you need to, but I'm not like married to the composable term at all. It was something we brought up in the beginning.
That to me, that I don't want to bog the meeting, but that is still a little bit not a term. It's a little like intellectual. Like I know why you're saying that, but it's to me, what you're saying is you're bringing all these capabilities from infrastructure and underneath together. You're composing them. Maybe I like app platform. You know, I've mentioned this in the chat, but a slight difference on that is it's reflecting the end goal. Like this platform's goal is to serve apps. So you know, that might be clearer. That's our audience. That's the customer. That's the product.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're driving a lot of these activities. I just wanted to bring it up because if we want to have this discussion again, now might be a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it. I like Josh's idea to have the blog post as a more or less as a start of a restart of the working group. So rename just to use it to rename it, and in further consequence to drive it a bit more, or to get more traction in there.
Okay, I'm going to take an action item. So to get that integrated in there, I think we all agree that platform. Let's debate a little in Slack and finalize the adjective or whatever. Also, FYI, I'm meeting with Luca Galante today, who I quoted in that article. He runs platformengineering.org. I just figured get some of his thoughts too. So I'll share those if they're relevant.
And again, the article is the blog post is really great. So really,
thank you.
Enjoyed reading. I think it's very concise of what it wants. Sorry, what the working group wants to achieve, and a very good read. So really recommend, if you haven't read it, you should. Yeah, but I think for the rest, I think everybody's fine publishing it.
Cool.
KubeCon North America. Thomas, do you want to? I mean, you're driving most of this right now. That's why.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can. So at least I can start. So we are very well present on the KubeCon North America. We have one one project meeting on the 25th of October there in the afternoon. And at the moment, we are looking for projects such as Carvel who want to present there. So for 15-minute talks and so on about it could be their projects or the things they are working on, just to give people and users ideas what the app delivery is about. So at the moment we have a CFP open. I think we can post a link somewhere here.
I have the link in there. So yeah, I think I have the link to the website in there. The CFP. Yeah.
And yes, we would be really glad if we had some projects which would want to present. And as I said, it would also be cool if Carvel would be part of this. The second thing we have at the KubeCon is for the first time we have a tag app delivery booth. So we will be there for some hours every day, and furthermore, projects will also have the possibility to present their projects there, if they don't have their own booth. So, for instance, also looking at Carvel, if you reach the Sandbox Pro level in the last few months and you didn't have the possibility to get your own booth, you could simply reach out to us, and we could schedule some presentation there, and yes, to also promote your project. It's also about end user stories. So if someone of you has a cool has a cool app delivery solution and wants to showcase this, you are welcome at every time at our project meeting, but also at our booth if you want to stay directly on the cube. Did I forget something, Arles?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, I think we have like this 4-hour project meeting, so there's going to be a lot of time. Also, if you want to bring other topics to discussion that you might be interested in, feel free to do so. And yeah, we deliberately looked into the project to usually have a bit of a harder time to be present at KubeCon and to have discussions. And that, well, that's a good idea. Like we have like this entire 4 hours that we're available there, and plus the booth, and giving people some more opportunities to do something there. Again, if you want to bring some of your end users who have interesting talks, feel free to do so as well. So we're trying this the first time this year. Also provide us feedback what's valuable to you, what is working, what is not working for you. We're all learning here. But it's a slightly different approach. In the past, we were like only talking about, okay, what's happening in tag app delivery. This time we want to drive more of a discussion, more of an exchange between projects, because we've obviously also seen that a lot of projects in the CNCF work very independently. Some of them do collaborate, but also see this as an opportunity to engage with other projects, to collaborate and maybe get some collaborative discussions going. It will be very competitive, to be fair, at KubeCon. Like there will be a lot of events going on at the same time. So no promises that there will be hundreds of people. But what we actually learned, yeah, you never know. It might also that a lot of people show up. But what we have seen in Valencia for booths is a lot of people show up actually. So if we think of presenting at the booth, usually a lot of people stop by. More than probably in the presentations, because it's a very packed agenda, as you might know.
Well, Thomas said we're definitely planning on being there. We've got a couple folks speaking at GitOpsCon as well, and we're wet behind the ears. I think we were accepted as a sandbox project last week, so
I think so. Yes. So I saw this.
Yeah,
I think 2 or 3 weeks ago.
We're still recovering from our champagne headaches. But
for that,
yeah,
already. What comes then for incubation? We're starting with champagne for Sandbox.
Exactly.
I
Hey,
want to be part of that
we'll
party.
celebrate every win. Well, definitely excited to be part of the community. I think that's the big part for us. But yeah, we were looking. Part of what we were hoping to find out today was like, what was the intent around those projects? It sounds like we have some stuff that we can share that's pragmatic in that project meeting, and excited to be there. And yeah, we'll talk about pulling something together for a demo for the presentation for the booth. That would
I
be
think, yeah,
great.
demos would also be great. Like having short demos, which we cannot record, are usually helpful.
Right? That's what people want to see. It's like, what's it look like? Yeah.
Yeah, we all have seen PowerPoint or
Too much.
All right.
So, but just reach out to me regarding the
What is
time
the end
slot
of the
when you want.
CFP? We have one question. We didn't actually define an end date for the CFP. That's a good one. I think we were not forced to officially submit the agenda for the day.
I don't think we have to,
No, I don't think we have to.
because
We
it
had to
will only
build
be a
it at some
project meeting
point,
in
so
the schedule.
might have a deadline, but maybe we should set one because maybe the week before. When do we need to get it all together, Thomas? Like the week of the 17th?
Yes, that will be a busy week, so we might set it by like for October 16th at the latest.
Maybe October 14th is Friday.
Yeah.
I guess we're not going to review on Saturday, Sunday anyway. Probably. Well, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I think we will review already along the way, but that's maybe the last one when you can submit. Yeah. Or we say Friday the 7th, and then probably extend. Because people who will present, well, for 15-minute presentation, people don't need to prepare that much, to be fair. Yeah, I think we can make the 16th. All right.
Great to see everyone. Is that it?
That's it for today. Yes.
All right.
Great to
Enjoy
meet
the
you.
rest of your day. That works in every time zone, every time you.
Yeah.
Whoever you talk to, wherever you are, enjoy the rest of your day works for everyone. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for the presentations today. Very insightful. And again, if you have not read Josh's blog post, do so. And also provide feedback to him if you want to. So he's always happy to get feedback.
Yes.
You are, right?
Yes, I am. Absolutely. This is open source.
All right. Then
Okay.
bye, everyone.
Peace.
Bye. See you.
Bye bye.